Welcome once again to Success for Life podcast. Hope all is well. Hope everybody's doing okay in these crazy times. Wanted to go through a short podcast today, and we're going to go through 20 principles that can provide long-term motivation for your team. That could really create an opportunity for them to succeed. Can help them along the process. It's great to have short-term motivation, but you want to also do things continuously on a regular basis. That's gonna create long-term motivation for your team, so you can continue to have success. So that's a real important thing, and you want to create an environment that players really feel that they could succeed. Create an environment that they feel that they're getting the most out of themselves. That they're maximizing their potential. So I'm going to go through some long-term motivation. This is really team-based stuff for coaches and athletes that can really help them increase performance for long term. The goal, with long-term motivation for your team is to provide to be able to build loyalty with your team between the coaches and the players. And when I say long-term, I'm talking you're thinking on a program level. You're not thinking day to day. You're thinking long term. How can we approach things over and over again to really to build positive atmosphere that can do it? So you can build loyalty among your coaches with your players, player to player loyalty. So players are going to become motivated to be able to trust others, and then you can build pride within your program. One of the most important things is you want to be able to build pride within your program. That's a key aspect. If players feel that the team they're playing for cares about everything they're doing, is motivated to become successful, then you're going to have an opportunity to be real good, real fast. So here are some things. These are some quick tips that could really help you. The first most important thing that can really make the big difference is your ability to really, if I just got a call at the same time I was doing this, but is your ability to create a positive environment. So creating a positive environment is a key component to success. When you create a positive environment with reinforcement from a player standpoint, with continuously giving different goals that they can reach, that are outstretched, but they have to work for, that you reinforce them. So it's not just enough to be able to, you can't just go, hey, everything's good. But when you critique, you go and then correct, and you make sure you get eye contact, make sure they understand, and you understand why you're doing things, the motivation for why you're doing it, to create a positive environment. Create an environment where other players pick each other up. There's no such thing as hazing in any program I've ever been a part of. There's no such thing as bullying. We sniff those things out as quickly as we can, and then we go and fix that stuff. We create a positive environment so people want to be a part of the program. That reinforcement, that positive reinforcement is number two. Okay, that builds off of it. The reinforcement is that everybody is picking each other up with the program. So when you teach, you make sure people understand, you're positive about it. When you see something done well, you reinforce it by explaining to them what they did well, how they did it well, and they're going to go and learn from there. It's not just enough to say good job, because they don't know exactly what they did good job of what they did. They need to know what they did a good job of it. So you sank your hips really well in the comeback route. You work back to the football. You got your hands in place. Those are real important things in positive reinforcement. From a program standpoint, you have to have efficiency in your practices. You want to have organization of how you're doing everything. So it's important for young men to be able to understand what's going to happen each day. I always build a framework. I have a schedule. I may deviate from that schedule a little bit from time to time, depending on the flow of the practice. But we want to make sure that every day we know what's going on. So those little steps create long-term motivation. So being efficient in everything you do, Go from drill to drill. Don't allow players or athletes just to sit back and have time to be down through a period. So any downtime that you might have can be a very negative impact. Keep them moving. Make sure it's efficient and organized. Whoever's in charge of that, whether it's a head coach, whether it's assistant, I say, hey, if I'm going over on something, somebody please let me know so we can stay efficient and organized. Be precise and be specific in everything you do. Again, I talked about just saying, oh, good job. That's not enough. Be specific, be precise, okay? When your hand placement has to be here. When we talk about on the offensive line, when they punching with two hands, that is not enough. We want to punch towards the upper pec here, and we want to punch to the lower side here of his body. So when we're pass protecting, we have the one hand reinforcement. So be specific in every task that they're doing. It's important to make sure they understand that they've got to know where they need to be in each time and be quick about it. And this leads right into the next thing. This is number 5, coaching on the run. So this is a pet peeve for me, okay? And I've always explained this to coaches that if they want to be successful in a program that I'm coaching, you've got to be able to coach on a run. We don't have time for you to stop, talk to one person, and then we all watch and listen while you talk to one guy and explain. We're moving to the next drill or next play. You're explaining to them as we're moving. That's a key aspect. You must explain to them as we're moving and teach those techniques, okay? There could be a time and place where we have to stop things, but we got to coach on a run. We cannot be waiting. Correct or give praise on every single play that you're doing. We don't go 5 plays without talking to our players. We got to talk every play to our players about what they should be doing. And if you're responsible for a large group of guys, you better talk fast. Stress fundamentals is a key aspect. This is number 6. We try to loop fundamentals right away in the beginning of practice so we get them moving. But stress the technique and what they're doing. It's important. It's if you don't stress fundamentals of the basics, blocking, tackling, catching the ball with your hands, making sure you know what the play count is, making sure you step with the right foot. Those things are critical. Number 7, eliminating negative attitudes. The biggest problem in any program is negative players, negative coaches. If you cannot eliminate those negative attitudes, then you're going to have a cancer that festers on your program and it's going to bring it down. You have to eliminate the negative attitude. It doesn't mean that there aren't negative things that happen from time to time that can be corrected, but you've got to eliminate negative attitudes. People that are not willing to be a part of the train that your program's on, they need to get moving, okay? Because you don't need them in your program. If there's somebody that you think you can salvage, have a discussion with them. But you cannot have negative attitudes in your program. It will completely bring down your team. Address them immediately. Evaluate performances fairly. So when you're evaluating players, okay, I like to have some actual tangible things at the end of the season that I evaluate them on so they have something they can go off of. But when you evaluate the performances, you want to evaluate the performance, not the performer, okay? This is not a personal thing when you're evaluating someone's performance. You want to go in there and address what they actually did wrong or right. Have as much tangible things that you can to be able to go off of. When you do grading, try to be fair and have a platform that is repeated over and over again so people understand what the grade means. Okay, that's a big part. Otherwise, you're just better off with general comments as far as their performance-wise. So if you're going to grade, when you're grading fairly, make sure everyone's held to that same standard and explain to people why certain things are graded certain ways. Okay, that's number 8. Number 9, follow through on promises, okay, that you make to the team. All right. So, and I've made this mistake before. You get all excited, you want to do something, you promise you do it, and then you don't end up doing it. Okay. We got to make sure that if we're going to make a promise that we follow through on it. We got to make sure if there's something we're supposed to do that we do it. And the players, if they've promised something, they must deliver on it. Okay, that's number 9. Number 10, the most important thing on defense, period, end of story. Every defense that I've ever been a part of that's been successful as a head coach, this team did a great job of it. Every team that didn't, did not. You must have hustle on defense, which means 11 people running to the ball at all times. Okay, the only time they're not running to the ball if they have some sort of responsibility backside that they have to take care of. But then eventually they run to the ball. Everybody must run the ball. Defensive hustle, this is number 10, maybe should be number 1. It dictates the way that your players perform week in and week out. Coach your ass off on defense as hard as you possibly can. Okay. Prepare players for crunch time. That was number 10, preaching hustle. Defensive hustle is the key to team success. All right. And I'm an offensive guy talking that way, but I play defense, and I know every time in defense I've been a part of that hustle, play great, teams won. All right. Prepare players for crunch time. So you can't hold players to a standard in a crunch position, 4th and 1, if you haven't practiced it. You can't hold them to a crunch position on goal line if you haven't practiced it. One of the things that makes players get their mind at ease from a performance standpoint is to be able to rep things so they feel comfortable when they get in that same situation. All right. Goal line, 4th down, 3rd down, most difficult thing both offensively and defensively for athletes in college, pro, and high school. You must rep those situations. Situational practice is key. All right. And you may have to go live in some of those situations in order to be successful. But it's key to rep crunch time situations, 2-minute drill at the end of the game. I've been coaching for a long time, and every place they've taken over as a head coach, the assistants that I've been a part of, I don't know where the heck some of them have coached before, but they didn't rep 4th down. They didn't rep 3rd down on a regular basis. They didn't rep goal line. They never practiced these things. When I hear that stuff, I just feel like they're just, throwing the ball against the wall and hoping it sticks. And if they win, it's because they have good players. And if they don't, it's because they don't have them that year. You must rep these things as much as possible. All right. It should not be a surprise to your players. Okay. Evaluate injuries as carefully as you can. Now, hopefully you have a training staff. I just kind of go over there and go see the trainer and deal with that after. But it's important for players to understand the difference between having some pain and a real injury. It's really important for that to be able to be done. And your trainer is critical. Communication with your trainer, the discussion of what you want, discussion of what they want, very important. I had a question. I'm just going to bring it up. Do you think situational practices absolutely are essential for success? Thanks, Sanchez, for your question. They are key to be successful. You must have situational practices within the practice situations. Okay, number 13, never let injuries become an excuse. It's your job as a coach to have everybody prepared, all levels. So the first team, second team, however, if you have enough for a third team, one of the tricks that I've always done from a quarterback standpoint, if you're an athlete, you play quarterback. Okay, that way if something happens and the guy who plays quarterback who can run and throw for me goes down, I know I have a guy that can do this. I know I have a guy that can do this. And it allows me to be prepared for a situation that comes up. Rep your guys as hybrids as much as you can. All right. Everyone always says, if they don't do this well, if you have an efficient practice, you could rep guys as hybrids. In high school, if they play free safety, they should also be able to play corner. Okay. If he's a strong safety, he should be able to play outside linebacker. If he's an outside linebacker, that's his main position, he should be able to play defensive end. Those things should not be an issue. Okay, if he's a receiver, and some of your slot receivers should also be running backs. Some of your fullbacks should be tight ends. Okay, to me, some of those fullbacks and tight ends, they've got to know some guard spots sometimes. All right, so that's important. 14, evenly promote all phases of the game. All right, so this is key. When you promote all phases of the game, okay, special teams, offense, defense, and you practice all of them and you make it important and you put your best players on special teams, guys that can make an impact. When you use backups on special teams, make them know the importance of what they're doing. All right, that's a critical aspect of everything that they're doing. You must make everything, all phases, kicking, the kicking game, special teams, offense, and defense. Okay, critical. Teach all of your players as much as you can. And some people think that you teach them equally. I don't know that it becomes equal because everybody learns at different paces, but teach them all as much as you can as a unit. All right. Different guys will pick up different things, but teach them as a unit so they can understand all the responsibilities. So you give everybody equal opportunity. It's critical to be able to do that. Teach them on what they need to do. All right. Post-practice talks. It's important. Every practice, the players need to come away with something, whatever that is. Thanks, Al, for the comment. I appreciate it. I hope everything's going well. Al Totally up in DePaul Catholic. So it's important to have a talk with your players at the end. I learned this when I was an assistant coach. Every place that I was an assistant, I was lucky enough to be a part of a very good program, and each place as an assistant helped me shape as a coach. As a player, when I played at UConn Division I, it was very helpful. Even if it's 2 minutes, even if it's a minute, sometimes I can get long-winded, but they need to come away with a message from your practice, and that goes to the beginning. What's the theme of your practice at the beginning? What are you finishing up with at the end? Did we accomplish those things? Okay. Number 17, be thorough. Thoroughness is the key. If you can go through a practice and accept a lot of nonsense going on, then you're going to have a situation where over and over again, you're going to have players not performing to the level that you want. You see something out of line, practice-wise, performance, laziness, not going through the motions, you must correct it. If an assistant coach is responsible for that, they must correct it. If they're not doing their job, you have to make sure you hold them accountable for it. Everything has to be thorough so they can perform to their very best level. Okay, we seek perfection. Okay, we deal with the fact that it's going to be your very best. That's all you can ask is them to give their very best. We're seeking perfection, but we know that the key is to give your very best. And if they're not doing that all the time, when it comes to a game, it's going to be a problem. So you want to make drill situations, game-like situations in practice. In the game, you want to be able to evaluate properly what happens so they know. They can't just be in the dark. If players are in the dark, you have to have tough conversations with them. If they're in the dark, then you know what? Then you're going to have a problem each week, and they're not going to continue to improve. You got to think about the season as a marathon, not a sprint. All right? There's multiple phases of it. The hardest part of the season is the middle part. I've had teams that have gotten on a roll, struggled in the middle, finished strong, and everything in between. So it's important to do that. Be passionate for the game. This is number, what are we on? 18 here. We got 2 to go. Be passionate for the game. If you show that you care, they will care. Be passionate for the game. If you show that you care, the players will care. That means being prepared for practice. That means being prepared for your drills. That means that being in a situation where you're excited to be there all the time. Okay? Kids, I don't care what. Adults, to me, it's amazing. They're delusional to think that kids don't know what's going on. If you come out to practice and you're half-assing it, the kids know that you don't want to be there. And if they know that you don't want to be there, then they don't want to be there either. You have to be passionate. It starts with the top as the head coach. If you have assistants, because invariably you are going to have assistants that are picking up a check here and there, and you can't weed everybody out, okay? You need to make sure that the players know that you are motivated to be there as the head coach. And your assistants will start to come around, and year after year, you'll start to get guys that don't want to be there out and guys that do want to be there in, okay? Develop player pride. Okay, this is an important part. You want to be able to strive to be the best that you very can and have pride in that. When something goes wrong, when you don't succeed, make sure it's a culture that is not acceptable. Even if your team hasn't yet reached success, make sure they understand that not succeeding is not acceptable. Okay. Last but not least, number 20, I told you I do a great job of getting through it quickly, and I want you to understand these things. These things are critical. Okay. Keep a level head at all times with everything. A level head. If you can keep a level head, and there are times you get frustrated, no one's saying that you're not going to yell as a coach, and no one's going to say players aren't going to be frustrated at times. If you can stay calm and confident and under control at all times, you'll get the very best out of your players, and ultimately that's your goal, to get the very best out of them, to get them to perform to their highest level. Whatever that talent level is, if you can, they will exude from you. They will gain confidence from you. They will learn from you. Stay calm, stay cool, keep pushing, and great things will happen. Those are 20 tips for long-term motivation that will help your team go as far as they possibly can. All right, Coach Schuman signing off. Best of luck to you guys. We'll see you soon. And that's it for Coach Schuman's Success for Life podcast.